and the Weather Channel, telling us what was going on in the world and explaining how the natural things that happen in our world happened, people explained what was going on in the world around them through stories. And these stories were called myths. And one of the most famous sets of these myths were from the people of ancient Greece. And they would use it to explain how the world was created, how certain plants and animals came to be, like spiders and other types of animals. And they also used it to explain how we ended up with the different seasons: fall, winter, spring, and summer. And these 4 seasons all started with an arrow and a piece of fruit. So this is the tale of Demeter and Persephone. So once upon a time, a long time ago, the goddess Aphrodite, the goddess of love, was sitting around, as goddesses tend to do, looking around on Earth and up in Mount Olympus and down in the underworld. And she saw that the king of the underworld, Pluto, who was a very grumpy and mean sort of fellow, had never been touched by love. And so she told her son, Eros, "Eros, my boy, Pluto seems awfully lonely and sad down in the underworld, for he has never been in love. So I think we need to fix that." So she sent Eros down to the underworld, where he took an arrow from its quiver, placed it in the bow, aimed, let it go, and it shot, right into Pluto's heart. And so Pluto felt something that he had never felt before, a very warm, soft, tingly feeling called love. So he felt love for the very first time. And so as he was riding on his horse down in the underworld and surveying the earth, he saw this beautiful girl, Persephone, walking out in a field collecting flowers and having fun. And he decided that he wanted to make Persephone his bride. But instead of asking her if she wanted to be his bride, or maybe talking to her parents about it first, he went up to the underworld, snatched her up, and took her down with him back to the underworld. And she did not go quietly. She was screaming and yelling and making a great big fuss, "Mother! Mother!" crying out for her mother or anyone that could hear her. But no one could, because everyone else was busy doing their own thing. And so Pluto took her back down to the underworld and made her his bride. So a little while later, Demeter, Persephone's mother, was wondering where her daughter had gone. She asked her friends, and her friends didn't know where she was. And she asked the people and some of the other creatures if they had seen where her daughter had gone, and no one knew. It was as if she had just disappeared off of the face of the earth. Except one sea nymph, who was kind of like a mermaid, was swimming around and noticed that Persephone's belt off of her dress had fallen off. So she found it and swam and presented it to Demeter. And that's when Demeter knew that Persephone was gone. Persephone had been taken, and she didn't know where. So Demeter got very sad, because Persephone was her only child, her only daughter, and so she was very, very upset about this. But Demeter being very upset was very dangerous, because Demeter was the goddess of the harvest, meaning that it was because of Demeter that the crops would grow, and the plants would grow, and the animals would have plants to eat, and then the humans could eat the animals for food. Well, Demeter was so upset and so angry that the earth that she had made bloom and harvest had betrayed her like this, had taken away her only daughter, that she said, Earth that has had my blessings for all these years, you shall have my favor no more. And so where before there was always plenty of food and plants and animals to eat, and it was always sunny and pleasant and everything always bloomed, all of a sudden there was too much sun or too much rain and nothing grew. No plants grew, the crops all withered and died, the animals didn't have anything to eat, so the animals all died, and without the animals for the people on earth to eat, the people didn't have any food, and so people were starving and dying, and they were calling out to Demeter to help them, but Demeter was so upset and so angry that she wouldn't listen. Well, Zeus, the king of the gods, decided that he couldn't allow his people to suffer any longer, and Zeus actually knew that Pluto had been the one to take Persephone down to the underworld, and so he sent his messenger, his right-hand man, Hermes, down to the underworld to bargain with Pluto to try to get Persephone back. And Pluto agreed that Persephone could go back up to the world and be with her mother. The only problem was, while Persephone had been down there in the underworld, Persephone had gotten hungry, as you know everyone is. You can't go somewhere and not eat, right?
Yeah.
Well, the one thing that Persephone had been offered to eat was a pomegranate. And a pomegranate was known as the fruit of the underworld. Well, Persephone didn't know that, but Pluto did. And Persephone had eaten one of the pomegranates and had swallowed 4 of the pomegranate seeds. And so because Persephone swallowed these 4 seeds, she was allowed to go back up and be with her mother, but she had to come back down to the underworld for 4 months out of the year. And so it's during those 4 months when Persephone is gone and Demeter is so depressed because she can't see her daughter that the earth gets cold and there's too much rain and too much sun and nothing grows. Now, what seasons do we usually have trouble with things growing?
Winter and fall.
Winter and fall. So it's during those 2 seasons that Persephone is down in the underworld with Pluto and her mother doesn't make anything grow. But the rest of the year, what are the other seasons when we have things growing and flowers and spring and summer, right? So it's during those other months of the year that we get flowers and sun and enough rain for everything to grow, because Demeter is so happy that she gets her daughter back up from the underworld. And so that is the tale of the 4 seasons. The end.